It was the year 1985, and the world of sports was ablaze with excitement. The Olympics were just around the corner, and the world's top athletes were gearing up for the ultimate competition. But in the small town of Oakdale, USA, a different kind of sports sensation was brewing. Meet the Mighty Hawks, Oakdale's very own amateur soccer team. Made up of a motley crew of misfits, has-beens, and never-were's, the Hawks were the laughingstock of the local sports scene. But they had heart and they had a dream to become the greatest soccer team Oakdale had ever seen. At the helm of the Hawks was their fearless leader, Coach Jack the Ace Anderson. A former high school soccer star, Coach Anderson had spent the better part of his adult life trying to relive his glory days. With his signature mustache and mullet, he was the epitome of 80s cool. Next up was the team's star player, Jimmy the Jet Jackson. A speedy winger with a penchant for scoring goals, Jimmy was the Hawks' best hope for success. But his ego was almost as big as his hair, and he often found himself at odds with Coach Anderson. Rounding out the team were a cast of colorful characters, each with their own unique quirks and flaws. There was Bobby the Bull Brown, the team's burly defender, who was as gentle as a lamb off the field, but transformed into a raging beast on it. Then there was Tommy the Twig Thompson, the team's scrawny midfielder, who was so skinny he made a toothpick look like a lumberjack. Despite their differences, the Hawks were a tight-knit team, and they had a bond that went beyond just soccer. They were a family, and they would stop at nothing to support each other. As the season kicked off, the Hawks were determined to prove themselves. They faced off against their arch-rivals, the Oakdale Oaks, in a match that would set the tone for the rest of the season. The game was a nail-biter, with both teams fighting tooth and nail for every ball. Jimmy the Jet Jackson scored a stunning goal in the first half, but the Oaks equalized just before halftime. The second half was a tense affair, with both teams creating scoring chances but neither able to capitalize. It wasn't until the 88th minute that the Hawks' luck changed. Tommy the Twig Thompson, of all people, scored the winning goal, sending the Hawks bench into raptures. The final score was 2-1 in favor of the Hawks, and the team erupted in celebration. They had done the impossible, beating their arch-rivals and proving to themselves and the world that they were a force to be reckoned with. As the season progressed, the Hawks continued to defy expectations. They won game after game, their confidence growing with each victory. They became the darlings of the local sports scene, with fans flocking to their games to catch a glimpse of the mighty Hawks in action. But with success comes pressure, and the Hawks soon found themselves facing their toughest challenge yet. The state championships were just around the corner, and the Hawks had qualified for the tournament. The team was ecstatic, but Coach Anderson was cautious. "We can't get ahead of ourselves," he warned the team. "We have to stay focused and keep working hard." The Hawks took Coach Anderson's words to heart, training harder than ever before. They fine-tuned their strategy, worked on their weaknesses, and visualized themselves lifting the championship trophy. Finally, the day of the state championships arrived. The Hawks were matched up against their toughest opponents yet, the reigning state champions, the Springfield Strikers. The game was a thriller, with both teams giving it their all. The Hawks dominated the first half, but the Strikers fought back in the second, scoring 2 goals in quick succession. The Hawks were on the ropes, but they refused to give up. Jimmy the Jet Jackson scored a stunning equalizer in the 85th minute, sending the game into overtime. The tension was palpable as the two teams battled it out in extra time. The Hawks fans were on the edge of their seats, cheering and chanting as their team fought for victory. And then, in the 105th minute, it happened. Tommy the Twig Thompson, the Hawks' unlikely hero, scored the winning goal, securing the championship for the mighty Hawks. Pandemonium erupted as the Hawks players rushed the field, hugging each other and crying tears of joy. Coach Anderson beamed with pride, his mustache bristling with excitement. The mighty Hawks had done the impossible, winning the state championship against all odds. They had proven themselves to be a team of true champions, with heart, grit and determination. As they lifted the champion trophy aloft, the Hawks, players and coaches were overcome with emotion. He had done it. He had led his team to the championship, and it was all he had ever dreamed of. The only trophy that ever eluded him all through his career. The Mighty Hawks championship victory was more than just a win. It was a testament to the power of teamwork, determination, and heart. The team had come from nowhere to win the championship, and it was an achievement that would be remembered for years to come. As the celebrations continued, the Hawks' star players and coaches were hailed as heroes. They were interviewed on TV and radio, and their faces were plastered on the front pages of newspapers. But amidst all the chaos and confusion, the Hawks never forgot the true meaning of their victory. They had done it for each other, for their fans, and for the love of the game. And as they stood together, holding the championship trophy aloft, they knew that they would always be remembered as the Mighty Hawks, the team that had achieved the impossible. The Mighty Hawks championship victory was just the beginning of their journey. They went on to compete in national and international tournaments, spreading their message of teamwork and determination to fans around the world. And Coach Jack, the Ace Anderson, the man who had led the Hawks to their championship victory, was hailed as a hero. He was awarded numerous accolades for his coaching, including the prestigious Coach of the Year award. But more than anything, Coach Anderson was proud of the team he had built. The Mighty Hawks had come from nowhere to achieve greatness, and it was a testament to the power of teamwork and determination. Years later, the Mighty Hawks would be remembered as one of the greatest teams in sports history. Their championship victory would be etched in the memories of fans forever, a reminder of the incredible things that can be achieved when people come together and work towards a common goal. And the Mighty Hawks' legacy would live on, inspiring future generations of athletes and coaches to strive for greatness. But the story of the Mighty Hawks doesn't end there. There's still one more chapter to be written, one more challenge for the team to overcome. And it's a challenge that would test the team's resolve, their determination, and their heart. It was a few months after the championship victory, and the Mighty Hawks were back in training. They were preparing for their next big tournament, and Coach Anderson was determined to make sure they were ready. But just as things were starting to fall into place, disaster struck. The team's star player, Jimmy the Jet Jackson, suffered a serious injury during practice. The team was devastated. Jimmy was not only their best player, but he was also their leader and their inspiration. Coach Anderson was heartbroken. He had never seen Jimmy so down, and he didn't know how to lift his spirits. But then, something unexpected happened. The team's youngest player, a quiet and reserved midfielder named Alex, stepped forward and offered to take Jimmy's place. At first, Coach Anderson was skeptical. Alex was a talented player, but he was still young and inexperienced. But the team didn't have squad depth, and Alex seemed to have more hunger than some of the experienced ones they had. He missed an awful lot of created chances during the trainings, causing more heartbreak to Coach Anderson. Their next game had to be started with Alex on the bench because the coach didn't have enough faith in him because of his inability to be clinical up front, majorly because of his youth and inexperience of the beautiful game. With 77 minutes played, Mighty Hawks were 2 goals behind, owing to the absence and lack of ginger usually generated by Jimmy the Jet Jackson. The coach decided to look into his sub and saw Alex sitting peacefully and a bit ashamed when his eyes locked with his coach's eyes. He couldn't look the coach in the eye because of his woeful performance in the trainings. Coach Anderson made 2 changes and Alex was included. Alex got into space unmarked, and also because he was neglected, never tagged a threat by the opposing defenders. He received a beautifully crafted pass from Bobby the Bull Brown, and he stunningly buried it deep into the heart of the net, well past the keeper, less than 3 mins on the pitch. The crowd erupted in shouts. The fans went crazy. They never expected their team could score any more, let alone Alex being behind it. Tommy the Twig Thompson got a pass from Alex and with vengeance in his boots fired it home, equalizing in the 88th minute. With 2 minutes added time since both teams couldn't be separated, Alex made a solo run with the ball and somehow got all the defenders out of his shooting range, took the shot, and it ricocheted off the woodwork and the crowd and coach drowned in anguish. But the drama was not over. It was as if he received the pass from the woodwork and did a better job this time around and scored. Coach Anderson was stunned. He had never seen Alex play like this before, and he didn't know what to make of it. The fans nicknamed him Alex the Kid. But as the team continued to win with Alex at the helm, Coach Anderson began to realize that something special was happening. The team was coming together, united by their determination and their heart. They were playing for each other, for their fans, and for the love of the game. And Alex, the young and talented midfielder, was leading the charge. As the tournament approached, the Mighty Hawks were ready. They were a team on a mission, determined to win and to make their fans proud. And as they took to the field for the first game of the tournament, the crowd erupted in cheers. The Mighty Hawks were back, and they were ready to take on the world. The tournament was a thrilling ride, with the Mighty Hawks facing off against some of the toughest teams in the league. But with Alex leading the charge, they were unstoppable. They won game after game, their confidence growing with each victory. And as they advanced to the final round, the crowd was on the edge of their seats. The final game was yet against their arch-rivals, the Springfield Strikers. The Strikers were a formidable team, with a reputation for being ruthless on the field. But the Mighty Hawks were not intimidated. They knew they had the skills, the talent, and the determination to win. The game was suspense-packed, with both teams fighting for every ball. But in the end, it was the Mighty Hawks who emerged victorious, winning the game 3-2. The crowd erupted in cheers as the Mighty Hawks celebrated their victory. They had done it again, winning the tournament and proving themselves to be one of the top teams in the league. As the team lifted the trophy aloft, Coach Anderson beamed with pride. He had never been prouder of his team, and he knew that this was just the beginning of their journey. The Mighty Hawks had proven themselves to be a force to be reckoned with, and they would stop at nothing to achieve their dreams. And as they celebrated their victory, they knew that they would always stand together, united by their love of the game and their determination to succeed. It was a few months after the tournament, and the Mighty Hawks were back in training. They were preparing for their next big challenge, a friendly match against a top-ranked team from Europe. The team was excited, but also nervous. They knew that this would be their toughest test yet, and they weren't sure if they were ready. But Coach Anderson was confident. He knew that his team had the skills and the talent to compete against anyone. And as the team took to the field for the friendly match, the crowd was on the edge of their seats. The game was a thrilling ride. There were no time to think on the ball for either of the teams. But in the end, it was the Mighty Hawks who narrowly scaled through by scoring the lone goal in the match due to a little defensive error on the part of the European team. The fans were full of love. They had done it again, proving themselves to be one of the top teams in the world. The Mighty Hawks had proven themselves to be a force to be reckoned with, and they would stop at nothing to achieve their dreams. And as they celebrated their victory, they knew that they would always stand together, united by their love of the game and their determination to succeed. Did their story end there? What happened to Jimmy the Jet Jackson?